Are you all doing good?
Yeah.
Yeah, you having a good day so far?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. My name is Gemma Winchester and I'm with the brand Vegoutt, which is something I created back in 2017. So I'm just going to play you a very quick video to start off with. It'll give you a bit of background and then we'll go from here. And welcome to the very first episode of Vegoutt. My name is Gemma Winchester and today I want to tell you a little bit about my brand Vegoutt. As you can see, my logo is based on this little guy here. This is Monkey. So growing up, I always loved animals, as most children do. And it's really sad when we grow up and find out all the ways that animals are exploited. For entertainment, for experiments, for science, for pets, for clothing, and for food. And so this brand is to help have awareness so everyone can know the different ways that we can not exploit animals, for the different makeups we can use and the different food recipes we can have and try and show our friends so that you can see you can live without meat and eggs and dairy and live a really happy, fulfilled life. So Monkey inspired me because Monkey's story is quite horrific. Monkey's mother was born and lived in a house in Brisbane. When she became pregnant, she was stolen. She was taken away to an illegal dogfighting arena. When her babies were born, they were thrown into a dogfighting pit. They were involved in games where, such as, 2 fighter dogs would come in that were starved and beaten and trained to fight and kill. And the small little chihuahuas were thrown into the middle of the ring. And after 90 seconds, the dog that had the chihuahua in their mouth at the end of the 90 seconds won. Can't imagine how many dogs went in and out of this vile industry. The Monkey survived in there for 2 years. When he was eventually found, he was found tied to his sister. Unfortunately, his sister had already passed away. Monkey lost his leg and almost lost his life. When I found out about Monkey's story, I couldn't help but want to help him. And when I met him for the first time, his pain nearly killed me. This scared, timid little guy just wanted to die. And that's no way for any living thing to have to go through this life. It isn't fair. And I wanted to make a difference. So I adopted him and took him into my family. And I have 2 other rescue dogs, which I'll tell you about in another video. And Monkey slowly came around and he slowly started walking, playing, being happy to what he is now. And something sparked inside of my heart, something that's always been there, that I created this brand. That's why he is the logo, because he's inspired me. If this channel or any video can inspire you to even change one tiny thing about your lifestyle, maybe have a vegan meal once a week, once a month, once a year, change and go vegan altogether. Or change and have different beauty products, ones that aren't tested on animals. Change your clothing. Not go to things like the circus and support things like that, even if you adopted an animal that's pre-loved, an older animal, or foster one. Whatever it is that I hope I inspire you to do, it makes a difference in the lives of an animal. Even if you just save one animal in your lifetime, you're leaving the earth a better place than when you found it. And that's what Vegout's all about. So we're going to have lots of cooking and lots of different recipes, and I'm going to mix up lots of recipes, and I'm going to make really good recipes too. And hopefully I inspire you in some way. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this video, for supporting Vegoutt. This little guy thanks you as well. So I hope you like our channel. Thanks for Oh no, we lost power again. Hello? Uh-oh. That's all right. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Press the bottom. The bottom? It's green. Hello?
Made you have been having trouble.
Not the best with technology. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, can everyone hear me? Yeah, perfect. So that was Monkey. So Monkey's the one one up there with the little tongue out. So what I'm going to talk about first is how my journey started to wanting to rescue animals. So I think everyone, when they're children, you grow up and you kind of have more of a empathy towards animals, and as we grow up, we're sort of, we're taught not to feel as much as we do as when we're children. So I grew up in Singapore. My mum is Singaporean, and there's lots and lots of high-rise buildings in Singapore. So lots and lots of birds would always fly into the buildings and break their wing. So I'd always, coming back from school, see birds with a broken wing. And so week after week, I would bring back birds that had broken wings, and we'd have to take them into a place called the Jurong Bird Park, which is a big sanctuary in Singapore where there's lots of avian vets who particularly look after those animals. So from a very, very young age, I just wanted to help animals. So obviously I didn't know how to do that until I was a little bit older. So with Lucky was a dog we rescued, so that's a little one in the front they can barely see. He was, my mum rescued him because in Singapore, I don't think it's so much over here, but there's a stigma against a runt. So if they have the runt of the litter, they usually can't be adopted, and they don't want them, and they often end up in rubbish bins and thrown away. And so with Lucky, we obviously didn't want that to happen with him. And so because the stigma against him is that they're so unlucky and they give you bad luck, we called him Lucky. And he lived to be 18 years old, so that's him at the bottom there. And according to in the United States, black animals, so animals with black fur, be it cats or dogs or anything, they're less likely to get adopted. 40% less likely to get adopted. They stay in the pound for the longest amount of time, and it's all to do with superstition. So obviously a big part of rescuing animals is dropping all of your stigmas and the superstitions you had before. So I've rescued some severe abuse cases, and not one of them has been aggressive. That's not to say that you will find one that might be aggressive, but for me, Monkey was in a dog fighting arena, used as live bait. Not once has he ever tried to bite another dog. I'll talk to you next about Mango. So this little guy, Mango, he's very cute, isn't he? So this is all based in Australia, by the way. I lived in Australia 15 years. So Mango was abandoned in a mango box outside of an animal shelter when he was a puppy. And they took him in, and he was adopted very, very quickly, which was good, you'd think. But the family who adopted him severely abused him for a whole year. He was beaten, he was starved, and set on fire. And it was only when he was set on fire that the neighbors reported it to the police. So they took him back and brought him back into the same animal shelter. And when he was there, unfortunately, no one wanted to adopt him. Because the stigma in Australia is slightly different. Again, it's not the same over here, but in Australia, how many men in the room would feel okay walking a Chihuahua down the street? Perfect. Yeah, so in Australia, there's a big stigma that it emasculates a man to have a small dog. So in the shelters, it's all small, tiny, cute little dogs. But I mean, I find if you have cute little dogs, they attract all the women, right? So he's nodding his head. So poor little Mango, my friend worked in Bundaberg, which is a place slightly west of Brisbane in Australia, and out west it's even worse because out back and no one wants to have the small little dogs. So she goes, Gemma, he's got the red label now, and the red label means he will be euthanized the next day. For his particular case, again, it's not for every single dog shelter, but some shelters, they're not supposed to do it anymore. It's supposed to have been abolished back in 2000, but they use gas chambers to put the animals down in the pound. They are not given an injection. So the word euthanasia I don't like to use. They were going to kill him and put him in a gas chamber purely because he was abused and through no fault of his own, and he was just scared of people. He was not aggressive, he was just terrified. He didn't want to come to people. So I took him and we flew him from Bundaberg to Brisbane, and the first time I ever met him, I saw him in the back of a cage at the airport, and I said to him, you don't ever have to give me a cuddle or a hug, you'll always be safe. And it took him 7 years to come around, 7 years, before he was okay to give you a cuddle. So for him, it took him a very long time. He's 15 now, and he's still going strong. He goes for walkies every day. Little Remy. So Remy was a foster case. So his mother was a stray, and he was found on the side of his mother was found on the side of the road, pregnant, heavily pregnant, and she passed away giving birth. Remy was the last puppy to be pulled out, so he was very, very tiny, and he couldn't grow. No matter what we did, we couldn't get him to grow. And there's this really strange rule in Australia that if a dog doesn't reach a certain weight, it cannot be adopted. So they killed him. A puppy, a baby, just because he couldn't put on weight. So as you can see, there's much bigger there, but when we got him, he was literally the size of my hand. And no matter what we did, he didn't really put on weight. So we changed his name from Ratty, because that was the name they gave him, to Remy. And we brought him into our family, looked after him for 3-4 months, and he finally gained the weight. But what the Animal Welfare League did then was they took him, and they said they were just going to have a checkup, collect him the next day. They came back the next day and went, no, he made weight. I was like, oh, great, okay, so we'll adopt him now. She goes, no, you have to apply to adopt him. After having him for 3 months in our home, and they jacked up the price of the adoption by 3-fold, you know? They put it up to 1,000 Australian dollars to adopt a dog that we'd been caring for 3 months. So little Remy, he is the reason that Monkey, the next one I'm going to talk to you about, the one that inspired Vegoutt altogether, he is the reason that Monkey recovered. Because for Mango, he didn't need dogs around him, he didn't like other dogs, he just wanted to be left alone. But for Monkey, he needed another dog to help him recover. So Remy, unfortunately Remy passed away in 2019 because a stray dog came out and attacked him and killed him. So it's little Remy. And so that's, Milo's another black dog, just to show you, he wasn't a rescue. So that's Remy, he had a heart condition and he passed away. That's Mango, that's Remy, and then that's Monkey, Remy and Mango on the other side. So Monkey, so I was older when I got to rescue Monkey, and the dog fighting arena that they had, they'd already shut it down. And it was about a week later that the police came in to do a clear sweep of the place. And the police officer, thank goodness, she said she could hear something in the dog fighting arena, something still here. And they said, no, we've cleaned it up, there's nothing else here. And you could see movement in the ground. And he was chained up, and he was in a pit. And he was tied to his sister, who was already deceased, by a long time deceased. He had broken both his front legs, severely his right leg, so that's why they amputated his right leg. He's missing a couple of bones in his left leg. He had punctured kidneys, punctured lung, punctured liver. And this little dog, just, you've never seen the state of an animal that way. And when I heard about him, I just thought, if I can bring him back from that state, you know, what else can all of us do to help animals that are just forgotten about? So little Monkey went and had his surgery, and he had his front arm, I call it his arm, it's a leg, his front leg removed. And they put him in the back of the veterinary clinic, right? They put him in a cage, because when I collected him, he had a fractured skull. He did not have a fractured skull when they took him in. So how did he get a fractured skull in the veterinary clinic? What he had done was they'd put him into a cage, they'd locked him up for the night, and they went home. They came back the next day, and he continuously smashed his head against the cage. So that just brings me to anyone that says an animal doesn't understand depression or doesn't understand not wanting to be alive anymore. He did. He did not eat, he did not drink, he just didn't care. But for Monkey compared to Mango, Mango took 7 years to come around. Monkey only took a few months. And he was running around, happiest little thing, and now he's an ambassador for Paws Friendly in Kildare, and he goes around everywhere, you know, well, he reviews, I suppose, the best little cafes that you can bring your dogs to. But for Monkey, yeah, just his how bad he was, that was when I said I have to do something. I have to, whether it be videos, whether it be rescuing animals, I have to do something to help other animals. So we move on from there to Hamlet and Lily. So Hamlet is a little pig and Lily's a goat. So Hamlet and Lily in Australia wouldn't be able to have these animals, and not in Singapore either. So when I came here and there was a chance to have land and a chance to look after animals, again, of course I wanted to do something with farm animals, because they get it the worst out of all of them. Especially pigs. Pigs get it terrible. So I don't know if you know, but during the bad things, what's the word? When Brexit happened and all the confusion with moving stuff, you know, over to Scotland from Belfast, a lot of shipping containers that were bringing animals over. So the animals bred here, pigs and cows, so they're bred over here. They're bred here and then they're taken over to Scotland and they're slaughtered in Scotland. But because they weren't going across, what were they going to do with these massive big containers? They're companies, right? Big companies with money. So It was easier just to leave them. Just got dumped at the port, left to die. Mothers, babies, all just left. So when I heard about this, a lot of animals from people that went in to try and rescue them took the ones that were survived from the shipping containers and took them and put them throughout farms and sanctuaries throughout the country to try and, you know, help them out. So I heard about Hamlet and Lily. Hamlet was destined just to go off and be bred her entire life. And the cages, we saw them, they're not much bigger than her body would have been at full age. And they start breeding them from that size. From that size, she would have been bred with a full-size boar. And the farmer said themselves, he goes, yeah, a lot of them die on the first dove. But why? Why does that have to be the way? If you know they're gonna, he goes, it's just how it is, in and out, you know? And then little Lily's a pygmy goat, but she's especially small. So because of her size, again, taking her off to be bred, she won't last very long. She's too small. But that's seen as a waste. For the meat industry, it would just be seen as, why would I bother to feed her if she's not going to give me litters and litters of, you know, babies? So I took them and brought them into a rented accommodation at first, which I don't recommend doing, because piggies scream quite loudly. But she's doing really well now. Her and Lily are best friends, and they get along very, very well. So there's a video here of, this is what we call stacking. So goats in the wild will stack on each other. And the one on the top is called the lookout, right? So they look out for danger. So because they've lived together basically since they've been babies, Lily thinks that Hamlet is a goat. See the face when she realizes she wants to go. And then she headbutts her, yeah.
Yeah, I got
Does that work?
Perfect.
Yeah.
So they do day long, every day, they stack on each other. And Hamlet, for some reason, does not think she's a pig. So she jumps up and she jumps, and you know, she's a larger size, curvature lady. So she doesn't really fit in the spaces that she thinks she does fit in. So next, let's see that one. And
This is Lily with her football.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
yeah, so she plays with her football. Again, because she hasn't been around other goats. I don't know if she thinks that's a goat, but she plays with a little football. Yeah. There you go. So, as you can see, she's quite small. That's just a regular football, and that's her fully grown. So if you can imagine trying to pop how many babies, goats usually have 1 or 2, sometimes 3 babies at a time. But I couldn't possibly think that they were going off, you know, anywhere. So for me, my goal and my dream with Vegoutt is I do cooking videos, and I'm coming up a bit later, I'm doing vegan raw balls. I can't ever say that without laughing. But you didn't help, you laughed. So just raising awareness mostly, and using platforms to raise awareness about what is happening with animals everywhere. I have a clicker, I keep forgetting. Who's seen that? Okay, that's me with them there. So just don't look at my hair. So that's the size of them, so you can see. This is an animal rescue.
My name is Gemma.
To go into that. So animal rescue, farm animal rescue is something that I worked with. I don't know if any of you have heard of James Aspey. Yeah, so I worked together with James Aspey, Billy Simmons, and Liam Greeny, and we worked on it together to raise funds for farm animal rescue in Australia, because the government was trying to shut down the farm animal rescue because they wanted to build another road right through the rescue. So this over here is me talking about chickens, basically. So it's basically, without me playing the video, it's basically me talking about chickens and how bad chickens get it, you know, in the egg industry. And so that was what we did there. Now with the adopting, so if you're going to adopt an animal, there's a few things that you should always do. Is drop the stigma, mainly. Like with Monkey, he hasn't had really any vet bills whatsoever, and he had everything in the world wrong with him. No two animals are the same, and they're not necessarily going to be aggressive. The amount of times I hear people say they don't want to get a dog from the pound because they're going to be aggressive, and I can tell you they're not always aggressive. How much time you can dedicate to the animal? The worst thing you can do is adopt one and then bring it back. It breaks their heart. Can you financially support the animal? Do you have the right amount of space? So obviously you wouldn't be able to have Hamlet and Lily in a tiny back garden. You'd need space to have a pig and a goat. And do you have any animals, other animals and children? So my mother has a dog called Ruby, and she was actually dropped down the stairs by a little girl because they gave her the puppy when Ruby was too young, and she dropped her down the stairs and she damaged her back. And so then the mother just didn't want the dog anymore. So she just went around the neighborhood knocking on the doors until somebody took her. So my mum took her. Do you need any licenses or permission? And have you done your research on what they eat? So pigs don't eat, well, I don't know if Hamlet's just really fussy, but pigs don't eat everything. She hates potatoes. So she's in the wrong country for that, but she does not like potatoes. So as an animal, you should treat them as family, and if you don't, then you shouldn't really get one. Being vegan, so I became vegan overnight. I watched Earthlings. Has anyone in here seen Earthlings? Yeah, that broke, absolutely destroyed me, that video. It was just every part of that video. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend watching Earthlings. It's on YouTube to watch. And so I decided just to go vegan overnight because once I saw that, I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't contribute. I didn't realize how bad it was. Some people take a different route. Some people, go vegetarian first, and whichever way is easier for you. I think as vegans and as a community, we should be kinder to people who are trying to make a change, because sometimes, we can, because we're so, I think, inside angry. I know I am. I'm so angry at what is happening, and sometimes you can think because other people don't see it that way, that you just get so angry that they're not, changing. But I think just be kind to everybody, and even if they have one vegan meal a week or a month, it is making a difference. Keep checking your ingredients. They do change over time. I find that with some ingredients that sometimes you think they're vegan, the next week they're suddenly not. And also with cosmetics. So before I did animal rescue, I did work as a hairdresser and makeup artist, and a lot of makeup brands get through a loophole. So they'll put the little sticker on it that says not tested on animals, because it's not tested on animals in this country, but they're tested on animals over in France. They can still put that sticker on. So you gotta watch out for that, okay? So it's a whole lifestyle change, obviously, about being vegan. My brother Wayne is going to talk a little bit about reducing meat consumption while I set up to do the raw balls. So we're doing that, that sounded really wrong, to create the raw vegan balls afterwards. So Wayne, if you want to come up.
Yep, sure. Actually, I haven't. Yeah, I'll put this in. It doesn't work, does it?
Hello?
Hello. Can you guys hear me, or do you want to use the mic?
Either or.
I was just wondering, because sometimes I can project my voice, and I know microphones can be very temperamental sometimes.
How about, does this sound better, or is this now too loud? That's okay. Alright, so we'll use the microphone. You have to forgive me though, sometimes I do things like this, sometimes my hand movements, so my voice might fade out a little bit, but I'll try my best not to. So as Gemma introduced me, I'm her brother. Gemma is, well, you say you're like an author, aren't you? A lot of stuff. She's a writer and author and does a lot of stuff, yeah. For me, I'm an economist, but I do quite a bit of writing as well. I've got a channel on Hive, and I've written like loads of different posts. It focuses on economics, but I write some vegan stuff in there as well. And I like to draw a connection as well between economics and veganism, because there is an interesting connection actually, because businesses, I'm sure you know all about businesses, right? They try and make money, and profits often come first, especially when you look at industries like entertainment industry, you look at horse racing, it's a lot like gambling and things like that, right? Look at meat industries as well. They're all about making profit. And often the case that animal welfare kind of takes a back step, and sometimes they might not consider it all. So what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about meat and reasons for eating less meat. So if you just give me a second, I've got a stick here.
Give me a second, we're using a different turn this off, Jen. Yep, that's it. All right, yep, just starting it.
Are we good? Yeah, here we are. All right, we're back in the room again. So, a lot of people have the intent to reduce their meat consumption. Like, yeah, people that become vegans. Just out of interest, how many of you guys here are vegan? Just raise your hand. That's a good fair few. How many of you guys are vegetarian? All right, you got 3, is it 3? And how many of you are flexitarian? Flexitarian, right. Okay, so it seems like our largest audience here is actually vegan. That's quite interesting actually, because I didn't know before I came here how many people would be vegan, how many would be vegetarian, flexitarian. Oh yeah, and of course I forgot to mention omnivore, as in, well, you just, eat meat as just a regular part of your diet. Anyone who's just pure omnivore? No, it's okay. Even if you are, that's fine. You come here, you learn things, right? So what I want to show you is, I looked at our Google Trends. I looked at it in terms of plant-based diets, veganism, and semi-veganism, or semi-vegetarianism. And what's interesting is people are getting more and more interested in reducing their meat consumption. And we can see that by looking at the trends on people's searches with Google. So we take this, for example, plant-based. You can see we've got quite a big spike around 2020, is that 2019? And that's continued. Is that a clicker? Oh, there's a clicker. Where do I point this? Hello? Nope. Oh, do I press the middle button?
No.
What button? I put the next one, right? Oh yeah, now it's working, great. Okay, so I can see this now. I've got plant-based, veganism, and semi-vegetarianism. So you can see the trend is generally upwards. I'm not sure why it's dipped in recent years, but it's still considerably higher than, let's say, like 2011. So what does that tell us? That tells us there's people's intention to consume meat, either in terms of a vegan, vegetarian, or flexitarian. And as you can see here, we've got the different countries where our Google Trends are suggesting people are looking for veganism. You can see United Kingdom, Australia, Israel, Austria. A few others are right up there. And also, what's interesting as well is plant-based foods. You can see the number of people that are eating plant-based foods is increasing quite dramatically as well. Like all food consumption is only up 2%, whereas plant-based is up by 11%. So you can see that there is evidence to suggest that people are moving towards a more plant-based diet and moving away from meat. I got another good one here. This is our restaurants. So we've got blue for vegan and orange for vegetarian. As you can see here, that they are increasing every single year. This goes all the way up to what, 2019, so I don't have the most recent figures. And for veganism, if you look, it's doubling roughly every 3 years. So it's showing you that people are going out and they are buying vegan food or vegetarian food. And then we've got a survey here. This is from, I think this is United States in 2019. And it's about people in terms of their meat consumption. So as you can see, a lot of people are eating the same amount, but very few people are actually eating more. And for women in particular, they're eating less. These are quite interesting, eh? So what the guys? Seems to be more women taking up veganism than the men at the moment. And from the audience, I'm looking around. I see a good balance here, actually. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to look at meat consumption. So how does that translate into meat consumption around the world? So if people are eating more plant-based products, are more interested in veganism and vegetarianism, you would assume that the meat consumed around the world would fall, right? And to a certain extent it has in recent years, We could blame some of this on population. The world's population is increasing, so you expect meat consumption to increase with that, but nothing really significant there, to be honest with you. How about if we look at it per capita? That's more interesting because you're looking at individual people, so what are they doing individually? And we can see here for red meat consumption, this is the US from 2010 to 2021. Unfortunately, there's not an awful lot of difference. As I'll show you in another slide, there seems to be more of a transition away from red meat towards chicken. As you can see here, this is the US. So you can see a lot of chickens are getting eaten, and people are sort of gradually moving away from pork and beef. So that's an interesting sort of thing. So you can see this with the European Union. And highest meat consumption, I find this interesting as well, are actually the countries where people are showing the most interest in becoming vegetarian or reducing their meat consumption, but they're still the biggest meat eaters in the world. This is Australia for, what's this, red meat, basically. That seems to be falling. Again, now that's future trends, so a lot of that there. So it does take a bit of a dip. And again, this is just looking at various countries and their meat consumption. So this is just some funny slide that I put in there. So there's a guy here saying he's got a plant-based alternative. He eats meat every Monday. So the other guy's saying, you know, you're buying one less meat portion, and he's just saying he's just spreading it out. He's just actually eating more. So a lot of people that are actually buying plant-based stuff are still eating meat. So this is the market for your plant-based stuff. So you can see vegans actually only make up 2% of the people that are buying your alternative meats, your plant-based meats. So now what I want to go on to, and we'll get into this fairly quickly, is reasons. Reasons I consider very important. There's a lot of different reasons why you want to reduce your meat consumption. It could be health, it could be the environment, it could be allergies, it could be religion, you could change your religion, or it could be because you care about animals and care about animal welfare. Some people throw climate change in there. I'll probably put that under environment. Some even consider tastes. Here we are, this is the UK, main reasons. This I found rather interesting actually for becoming vegan. You've got ethical motivations, I assume that's relates to the animals. But then you've got healthier lifestyle, which is very interesting because that's actually very, very high. But if you're vegan, if you've been vegan long enough anyway, you realize that the diet is actually one aspect of that. There's a lot more to it. Like I mentioned before, there's entertainment, you got horse racing and stuff like that. There's pets, there's these puppy farms, there is also the clothes you wear, and of course animal testing for science and products. So it's a little bit more complicated than just diet. And what we've got here is we've got two different surveys that have picked up very different things. So we've got this one here, the EPIC Oxford study, and this looked at people who were vegan or vegetarian in the 1990s and then later on where they were. And for this it showed 73% were still vegan and vegetarian about 20 years later. But the other survey, which is a little bit more recent, it's based in 2014, actually showed something quite different. That 84% of people that become vegetarian and vegans have not kept with that lifestyle, with that change, which is quite interesting. And I think what it comes down to is actually your motivations, your reasons for making that change. If it's about the animals, I'd probably strongly argue that you're more likely to remain vegan, simply because no matter what happens, there is no kind way to kill animals. There's no kind ways to get your dairy products or your eggs or anything. It's just, you just can't do it, no matter what, especially when you're killing animals. You're killing an animal, and of course we talk about money and profits from businesses. They want to reduce costs as much as they can, and by doing so, animal welfare is going to take a back seat. Even if they're trying, it's not going to be great. Whereas if we're talking about health reasons, it may sound great. Hey, vegan is healthy. Vegan lifestyle, vegan food is healthy. Would you guys agree? Raise your hand if you think vegan food is healthy. Interesting, you've got a mixed response. I would argue that it can be healthy because there's so many different vegan things that you can have. If you were to just eat vegan cakes all day, you probably couldn't call that healthy, could you? But there's a lot of other things you can eat that's vegan that is very healthy. In fact, we know of a guy, a vegan guy, really strong guy, he picked up a car, didn't he? Yeah, he actually picked up a car. So can you imagine how strong that is? So you can be very strong and have a very great diet by being vegan. Just a few more I just want to show you. Reasons that people are given for reducing meat consumption. As you can see, health is very high. This is amongst people that are not vegan, it's just reducing meat. Animal welfare, sadly, it's a little bit lower down. And here we've got some more reasons here. These are all recent surveys, by the way, around 2019 to about 2020, 21. So health tends to come fairly high. In animal welfare, for people that haven't become vegan, it tends to be quite low down on the priority. And here's for plant-based foods. This is from the US. Reasons why people are using because it tastes, I thought that's interesting actually. People say plant-based foods don't taste nice, but apparently that's actually the highest reason why people buy plant-based foods. Animal welfare, unfortunately, is only down at 11%. Here's a little bit more information. This is a little bit higher, up to 46% with this survey. This was the UK again. Now this one I thought was very, very interesting actually. You're looking at plant-based meats, and you're looking at milk. So apparently with milk, a lot of people, I guess a lot of vegans have like almond milk and things like that. That's why we see it's only 40% also buy cow's milk or goat's milk or whatever. But whereas the plant-based meat, 98% actually continue buying regular meat. I was kind of surprised when I saw that because I was thinking, wow, because we get quite a bit of plant-based meats and I think they're kind of nice. We sort of, you know, they might not, some of them are not particularly healthy, but they are fairly good. But 98% are still buying regular meat, which is quite shocking, really. Here we are, this is just planned for a generation. I won't say too much on this, but it seems like the younger generations are becoming more vegan. But then again, the reasons are quite different. Is that lab meats, I think, are coming to the end of this, political beliefs. Oh, I just want to end up here with, oops, go back one. Vegetable and fruit consumption in the US. So people are becoming more and more interested in having a plant-based diet, right? More and more interested in being vegan, vegetarian, etc. But ironically, here in the US, this only goes to 2015 by the way, but the consumption of fruit and vegetables are actually falling. I don't know if that's still continuing, but I need to get some more information on that updated, but for that period, ironically, that is actually going down. So I'm going to wrap up here. I'm going to hand it over to Gemma, and she's going to now do the ball. What do you call them? Protein balls, right?
More than one.
One protein ball. Now, I'm going to get a guess. So just before I go, I just want to leave you with one thing. Becoming vegan, reducing meat consumption is all great, but reasons do matter. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, so now we'll get to the fun bit. Who wants to come up and help me make some balls? Yeah, do you want to come up? Yeah. Here you go. This might be a bit big for you, but this is a present for you. So, you were here before. That's little monkey's face. There you go. All right. Just promise me you won't make a big mess. You can if you want to. So these raw protein balls, how these came about was my brother and I went to the Australian outback, and we were going to hike Catatuda and Uluru. You can't hike Uluru, but it's also known as Ayers Rock, but I always like to keep the name, the native name of places. So Uluru and Catatuda, and we stayed out there, and there was not a single vegan thing that you could possibly eat. And if you want to stand there, or do you want to stand this one? I'll tie that up for you in just a second. And so there was absolutely nothing for us to eat. So we went to the shop and we made these. And they were actually quite alright. Well, they're delicious. You can have some. I'm gonna make some. So this here, so very simple. So if you want to pop some gloves on. There you are. Have I got everything? Yeah. So we're going to make a few, so you can come on up and have some if you like. They're very, very easy to make, and obviously because we were in the outback, the Australian outback's very hot, and there was absolutely no cooking materials we could use, so that's why they became the raw balls. You got that? Aurora, everybody. Perfect. Okay, so, you know what's in here? It's a giant tub of peanut butter. Do you like peanut butter? You're gonna say no? Well, that's not great, because there's a lot of peanut butter in this. So with these ingredients, what it is it's peanut butter, maple syrup, vanilla extract, dark chocolate, oats, and coconut shavings. So obviously anyone who wants to come up and try some, there's nuts in it, because it's peanut butter. You think it's mad to say that, but in Australia people would half eat it and go, there are nuts in this. Because my brother had to run around and say that there's actually nuts in it. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to grab a big scoop of peanut butter and pop it into that big bowl there. Yeah. I'm sorry to the next speaker, your table's going to be messy. Yeah, and plop it in there. Yeah, so put a whole load in there. So you want to start with all of the wet ingredients first. Otherwise it'll be too dry. So I'll help you. So get lots in there. I don't know why places always have white tablecloths. This doesn't seem like a good idea. There you go. You get a bit more in there. Lovely. Oh, there we go. Peanut butter. So first goes okay, so I have a vegan cookbook as well. It is somewhere here. So afterwards you can come up and ask me about that. This recipe is in there, is it? I think so. So we pour in the maple syrup. There's portions, that's where I was going with that. There's actually portions in the cookbook. I'm just going by Jamie Oliver way, you know. Just pour a bit in, there we go. And then you go with your vanilla extract. So you can pour a bit in, there you go, a bit more. There you go. So a little bit of vanilla extract. So that's the peanut butter, the vanilla extract, the maple syrup, and then you get your dry ingredients. Did you get messy yet? No? So the cookbook was actually a mistake. Any of you heard of Sea Shepherd? Yeah, so I was at their Stand Fast Festival, was celebrating their 50 years in Brisbane, Australia. And I was there doing a cooking demonstration, but they somehow thought I said I was releasing a cookbook, which I didn't say. I said I was doing a cooking demonstration. And so they advertised it as I was releasing a cookbook, so then, me being me, I had to just do it. So I did. And so that's how the cookbook came about. All right, so your oats, you pour some in. There you go. So these are just raw oats. There you go. You get the fun bit in it. All right, then we have our chocolate chips. Do you like chocolate? No? Do you like nothing that's in here? How does a child not like chocolate? Okay, so I'm going to put some in here anyway. Do you like coconut? No? What's your favorite food? Strawberries, very good. I like strawberries too. There you go, some coconut in there. So now you get your little hands in your gloves and you mix it all about. Yep. Yep, so you mix it all in, right? So you squish it together. You just go squish, squish, squish. Feels a bit horrible, but it's tasty, I promise. Yeah, squish, squish, there you go. If it needs a little bit more, put a little bit more in. If it gets a little bit dry, you can add a tiny bit more vanilla extract. Then all you do is you just mix it all together. So you can imagine doing this. There's actually a video on my YouTube channel, Vegoutt, where I made this in the Australian outback. There we go. There you go, yep. So mix it all around. Squish it with your hands, and then you get a little bit in your hand. Yeah. So then you get that amount in there, right? And you squeeze it into a ball. There you go. And you just keep squeezing. There you go. Did you make a huge one?
You got this.
There you go. Yeah, keep squeezing till you get it into a little round ball like that. And then you can pop it in there. And then anyone who wants to have some, you're more than welcome. Did you get it? Yeah, so squeeze. Squeeze like that. There you go. Do you need a bit more essence in yours? Yeah. There you go. Very precise. There you go, yeah. And then you roll it up into a ball. And then you pop it in there. So there you go, like that. Just squeeze it. There you go. Squeeze it together. Just squish it on your hand so we grab it like that. There you go. Just squeeze it really tight. Like you're trying to suffocate it. There you go. Make yeah, bit squeezy, bit squeezier. So it's like a ball. There you go. You squeeze as hard as you can. There you go. There you go. Well done. Just one. They are pretty filling, so I wouldn't suggest eating too many. You know who really likes them? Hamlet. Pig. Loves them. Yeah, just squeeze it as hard as you can. There you go. And that's as simple as that. So on YouTube, you can find Vegoutt on YouTube. I'm on Instagram as well and Facebook. And you can see what we're up to. I did try doing cooking videos all around the world, and when I did it in London, I tried to make a avocado chocolate mousse, and the whole bowl fell into the River Thames. So, yeah. And then a guard came up to me and said I had to have a license to be filming, and I said I wasn't filming, but I was. And he just went, oh, that's fine. But yeah, my bowl went in the River Thames, so that didn't end too well. Did you get it? There you go. Very good. That's it, yeah. No? I made the mess? No? There you go. Very good. So there we are, guys. It's as simple as that. If anyone wants to come up and grab some, you're more than welcome. We're just going to finish off here. Thank you so much for coming to our talk. I really appreciate it. Once again, you can find me on Vegoutt, on all the social medias as Vegoutt, and I'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.